Hi everybody, welcome to another rock music discography, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite singers of all time, Joe Cocker. I think Joe Cocker is one of the best rock and roll singers ever. But I do not have a whole lot of his albums at all. I only have 6 albums. So I don't have everything by Joe Cocker, although I have heard everything by Joe Cocker, so don't yell at me or send me hate mail or anything like that. So I just don't have all of his albums. But the ones I do have include the very first album that Joe Cocker made, With a Little Help from My Friends, which my favorite song on it is the title track, his version of the Beatles' song from the Sgt. Pepper's album, With a Little Help from My Friends. And there's a lot of familiar musicians on this album that play that you probably know of, like this young man, for instance. That is Jimmy Page on guitar. And this distinguishing gentleman over here is Steve Winwood on the organ. Oh dear, the whole thing just came apart on me. How do you like that? The CD cases may not be in the best of shape, but the CDs themselves in my collection certainly are. So, that's the first album. The second album I have is his second album, Joe Cocker, which is an amazing album. A lot of cover songs he does on this, which my favorite song on this is probably his version of George Harrison's song, Something in the Way She Moves. He does a great version of that. If you haven't heard it, you got to check it out. The next album I have is probably one of my favorite live albums of all time. It's a double album, Mad Dogs and Englishmen. And this is the 2-disc deluxe edition. Whoa. And he had quite an all-star band that night at the Fillmore, which is where this takes place in, which included Leon Russell on the piano. And Rita Coolidge on female vocals. This is a really great live album. Almost every song is awesome. It's kind of hard to pick my favorite, but if I had to, I would probably have to say the 7-minute version of Delta Lady. So, that takes care of that. Next up, I have the Joe Cocker Anthology album, which is a 2-disc greatest hits album. And what's cool about this is it tells you which album each song is off of. So instead of telling you my favorite song on this, I can tell you my favorite song on each album. Now, I already told you the first 3, with a little help from my friends Joe Cocker and Mad Dogs and Englishmen. But off of the Something to Say album, my favorite song is probably Black Eyed Blues. And off of the I Can Stand a Little Rain, I always like to put these 2 songs together because they sound, after the first one ends, it sounds like it just goes right into the second one. It kind of just sounds like it's a medley or something like that. So I'd have to say my favorite 2 songs are I Can Stand a Little Rain, which then goes into You Are So Beautiful. Next up, from the Jamaica Say You Will album, my favorite song is I Think It's Gonna Rain Today. From the album Stingray, my favorite song is Song for You. From the Luxury You Can Afford, my favorite song is Fun Time. From the Standing Tall album with the Crusaders, my favorite song, one of my favorite Joe Cocker songs of all time, is I'm So Glad I'm Standing Here Today. And from the last one on this, Sheffield Steel, my favorite song is Sweet Little Woman. And then, of course, I adore the last track on this album from the movie An Officer and a Gentleman, his duet with Jennifer Warnes, Lift Us Up Where We Belong. It's an amazing song. Next up, I have an amazing performance from Woodstock. Joe Cocker live at Woodstock. Which, the final track, the Live with a Little Help from My Friends, is absolutely amazing. I remember watching that movie when I was a kid and just watching Joe Cocker's performance and just staring at the screen going like this. It was just amazing. He is one of the best performers ever. Well, he was, not right now, of course. Anyway. And last but not least, I have the Joe Cocker Gold album, which is just another greatest hits. But it's great because it has a couple songs on it that the anthology album does not have. So that's all of my Joe Cocker albums. He's one of the best performers ever, one of my favorite artists, and definitely one of my favorite singers. So, I would love to hear, if you're a fan of Joe Cocker, I would love to hear what your favorite songs are. Leave a comment below. And leave a comment below even if you don't like Joe Cocker. I'd love to get into an argument with you. And remember to thumbs up the video. Until then, I'll see you next time.